Alright, this is Ralph aka the Fairy Shuttle, and in this one I'm going to analyze a Rengar jungle game from Korean Challenger. And what I want to do is just go over the Rengar versus Shyvana jungle in this game and see what happens, right? Like, look what's up. Now, let's just skip ahead a little bit and see it. Once this invade fades away, nothing really interesting happens. I don't think any flashes were blown. So he comes back around and alright. So the first thing you'll notice in these challenger types of games is one very big difference with what you'd see even in Diamond, really, but mostly in Platinum and below is what I'm talking about, is deep warding. Now, if you know where someone is and therefore where they are not, you can actually go pretty damn deep into the enemy jungle without getting killed. But it does require a certain level of skill in that you have to know and predict where people are. And it does require a certain level of confidence, right? It's kind of scary. Like, when I play a ranked game, and especially if it would be in high challenger, and I would invade into a jungle on my own, I would feel, you know, like I could definitely feel that in my gut, right? If I play ranked games and I do shit like that, yeah, you feel it, right? Like, it makes you uncomfortable. So in that sense, you notice these players, they play the game on a very cognitive level. It seems they just do whatever is necessary to bring them information, to make better plays, to do whatever it takes to win the game. And that's a very big difference. Like, they don't play based on fear or based on, you know, a lot of these players don't seem to play based on champion preferences. They always pick, like, their top 5 is exactly what's been meta that season, right? They play it in a very methodical, cognitive way. And it's something to take away for your own games, even if you don't want to play like that. To at least realize that if you're thinking about, like, what could I do to improve, that's something you could look for. Even if you're like, well, I'm not prepared to just be a meta slave, or I'm not prepared to constantly be bothered to deport, which would be silly in my opinion, but still, like, you can have a different opinion and still learn from these things, right? So let's just get on with it. Now, Rengar. You need to know Rengar routing and Shyvana routing a little bit. So with something like Rengar, you can clear the wraiths quite easily, right? They're not called wraiths anymore, but people still call them that. The Raptor Camp, you know, it dies to your Qs, right? That massive AoE damage. Therefore, on champions like Rengar, that's slightly favorable, since it allows you to get level 2 before you do a buff, giving you that buff later, right? Which is going to give you more of that buff duration as you walk through the jungle. And what was the main advantage? I don't know. I think that gives you more experience in the long run, although I'm not familiar anymore with the recent patches, if that's still true. But I think it still gives you more experience, because buff duration, it heals you for the same amount. I guess the later you get it, the more the chance is that you'll use it in a gank or whatever, right? So that's the only reason I can come up with. Which for Rengar isn't always that relevant, so I'm guessing that experience is also at play here. Now, if Rengar starts bot side and they leash him, then they know where he started. They can spot him on these wards. And Shyvana, depending on where she starts, right, she could start pretty much at any camp, really. Like, she could start bottom, top, at the race or at the wolves. It really doesn't matter. She can do whatever she wants. So, so how do you know where she started? There's no deep wards from the blue team into the jungle other than that at this point. So I guess you don't know where she is, right? Now, because it's a Shyvana, it's not too relevant. But the route this Rengar opts to take, I still find it a little bit suspicious. I don't really see the reasoning behind this route. We'll just see what happens, really. So he does his buff, then he does his wolves, then he does his raptors, and he instantly starts looking for the Shyvana. So what the Shyvana did was wolves, gromp, and then blue buff, right? And here, Rengar, I think, accidentally shows himself for a sec. So here he tries to, like, scout out, and then he notices the gromp, the scuttler, and then he actually has to hide away. So I find it very surprising. What I think happened here, and I don't have any verification on this, so let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but I think the usual route for Shyvana that people do in, say, gold and platinum, it puts them at like 100 health once they're finished with red buff. It really just 100 to zeros them. And that means that a Rengar could easily just go in and kill them. So what these players do is they take one part of the jungle full clear and then do Scuttler and look for a ganker back. So they too get level 3, they just leave a buff up. And they try to ward that buff, and in case that the Rengar goes in and takes it, they're going to try and invade. They could alternatively also try to take Dragon, that's something Shyvana excels at and also benefits from. So that's the route that the Shyvana is doing, and the Rengar started topside to counter that strategy, to meet her in this bottom side. But I still find that very surprising. If you look at this start, so if you look at the start, I don't really know what the benefit would have been from starting blue versus red, because you could have done the exact same strategy with top lane. And I don't see how this ward is going to spot them at the red buff. I guess they do have vision on the red buff. So I don't know how early they got in there and got that ward. So Cho'Gath, maybe, I don't know if Rengar ordered the Cho'Gath to ward there. But this is very interesting. So they do these shenanigans, and Rengar doesn't really have any option anymore even to change this route. So what if the Shyvana showed up at this red buff? Is what I'm wondering. What would he do? I guess what he would do is he could start blue, wolves, gromp, and then look for the scuttler to again meet the Shyvana here and try to kill her level 3. So you're just trying to match where Shyvana is. If you are instead on the receiving end from early game aggression, you want to do the exact opposite, right? You want to stay away from someone who has all the pressure, right? Because if you can't contest it, then it's useless. What you sometimes can do, perhaps not against a Rengar quite easily, but against other strong early game junglers, is that you can try and scout them out. But there's so many junglers that can catch up to you that fast that this is not often a good strategy. It's just very particular to certain junglers, right? Where you just try to scout them out and remove their early game pressure that way. So this is some very interesting shenanigans. Now, considering that they have deep wards here and they know that Rengar started topside, I wonder why Shyvana didn't opt to simply back at level 3 when she got the Gromp. I guess the Rift Scuttler is free experience and you want to try and get it. And Rengar's route is very particular in this way, because a lot of Rengars actually power farm, and a lot of Rengars would have actually taken every single camp. So I guess it's a bit of a guessing game, right? Like, if you know the Rengar is going to be there, then it would be silly. But you don't know, so you just try to do it, and then you fail. Alright. So very, very, very particular start, right? Like, very particular game knowledge coming into play here. I'll also notice how he clears his camp very efficiently. Like, he does the small wolves first with his empowered Q. He smited the blue, and he just makes sure he's full health throughout this entire jungle. He's not playing around with his health bar, because he knows he's gonna like try and invade this Shyvana, and depending on how much health she loses. Right, I also like how he kites this camp to the very edge of what is possible. Like, I would have to practice this in customs to do it like that, because that's just immaculate, right? That is really clean. I'm sure if you do it enough times, eventually you can do it, but that's pretty skilled in and of itself. So, yeah, don't fuck around with this Rengar. Don't screw around with this guy. He knows what's up. This is very awkward. Like, I guess he was heading topside anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. Again, the Shyvana is like really on point with jungle prediction. She walks up here and then wards the red buff, so they know exactly what's going on. And the Cho'Gath is also like making sure that nobody can enter before here. This is one thing about playing very aggressive. Often in low elo you can't do strategies like that because you simply don't have the teammates. Like, look at the positioning of the blue team here, making sure that it's impossible for this Rengar to be killed at this red buff. But he does also have the bomb plant here, so that's something to keep in mind in your games. If you don't have cooperative teammates, you still have this bomb plant. And that's something I got busted on when we had control over the game, but people just slip out from their lanes and instantly are stuck. It's very, very quick. And that's just the disadvantage. If you play with people that don't actually, play the game, they don't actually look, oh, this guy's invading, I should protect this, I should like walk up to the left side and make sure to cut their route off. They can't just go past me without losing 3/4 of their health bar. If you're not playing with people like that, then this is obviously more risky. So, Rengar, I like his playing style, how he's always actively looking for the Shyvana. Like, okay, Shyvana's doing race, let's try to kill her at those. Shyvana's doing Krugs, let's try and kill her at those. Steal a red buff. He's really just doing everything in his power, right? Oh, that's a cool first blood. Not what we were analyzing, but still cool to watch, right? Fucking grab some popcorn, kids. So, that's pretty cool. Let's see. I want to go to some... I had some interesting parts noted in this game. I like how this guy has taken such a long route to his red buff. What a guy. That's the advantage of knowing the Shyvana is dead. Dead in secreto. Oh, that Blitzcrank is already dead. Holy shit. If you've ever seen a dead Blitzcrank, this is what it looks like. So, yeah, I mean, a Rengar that pops off like that, like denies the Shyvana this hard and gets a couple of kills. You do not want to meet that level 6. So, I like these names. In secreto, siste eterno. What's up with this? Is this like a trend over there? You can see he's very efficient in his routing. He doesn't take Drake. And I think you can say what you want, but I'd be prepared to lose a buff over the fucking Infernal Drake any time of the week. 6% the entire game in terms of damage. That's just insane. 6%, and that compounds, mind you. These percentages compound, so it's not just a flat 6%. And this is really just like, what can you do? What interesting gameplay? So he knows that he's gonna be like dicey on like the blue buff, right? So the Shyvana tries to invade, and what can she do at this point? What does Rengar do? Activates R. Runs at this wall. Runs at the wall. Flashes over and she's dead. What can you do? What can you possibly do? Yeah, well, that's just that's what happens when your jungler's 3-0 and you've been completely denied. I find this very interesting. I don't know what's going on here. Like, this pink ward, I don't really understand what's going on here. Like, can he see this? Like, I don't know if this is a strategy, like, that I don't know about. He can jump over this, so I guess he just waited for the Maokai to pass by. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, who cares if the Maokai passes by? You can just, like, you could literally poke him to death. Why would you wait for the Maokai not spot you? I guess because this entire invade is unnoticed, so it doesn't allow Shyvana to know that you're not bot side right now. So Shyvana has to be careful with this gank because she doesn't know if Rengar's around. Because if Rengar went back and to Krugs, he would be here. So by not showing himself, he has a lot more pressure on the map. So it's very interesting to notice how they do that. Fucking mind games are always just so interesting. You see, have there been any display of mechanical ability so far in the game? Not really, right? It's all been about game knowledge and applying that to make good decisions. It's really just that. Like, of course these players are also mechanically skilled, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, these guys are, like, mechanically bad, but luckily they're smart. That's not at all what I'm saying, but just by pure wits, by just playing this game of chess, right? He's winning the game. And that's why jungle has been called like a game of chess, because there's no other role that centers so harshly around game knowledge, right? Where, like, if you're a bot laner, like, maybe if you do a flashy outplay and you dodge an ability with flash and you bait the heal and all that, right? Like, you predict a sidestep, you can get a kill that way, which has nothing to do with game knowledge, right? It's just being mechanically skilled. But this is literally, well, if she goes here, then I want to be here too, because I'm an early game jungler. I want to be on the same side. She wants to do the same thing in the opposite direction. That's just why she tries to scout me out. And then what you want to do is you want to, and it just goes on like that the entire game. That's what jungling is as a role. I'm surprised he doesn't go in on this. I guess I don't understand. Look at here, he doesn't have his ultimate. So we look at this. So Azir ults him out. I guess Azir is still too close. But now Azir walks away here. And Shyvana approaches him to the, like, to right around here. She's not kiting towards the soldiers. So I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't go in on that. Oh, did you see that blue blob on the minimap? Look at this closely. Yeah, see that? See that? See that blue blob? See that once more on the minimap? Right here. Whoop. What the hell is that? If you know, please tell me, because I have never seen that before. That's some game knowledge for you. Never seen that thing. So, at this point, Rengar has won the game, essentially, unless he screws up massively. This is very, very hard to win for the enemy team, because not only is he 4 kills up, you also have to realize that he's up like 20 CS, right? He's up so many camps. He's up like 5 camps, and now he has this Duskblade sitting in there, so he can one-shot almost anything, except maybe Maokai, right? So he's a menace right now. And if he gets this Infernal Drake or something like that, they know that there's a pink ward here, by the way. He forgot to clear that earlier, or check. I think clear, but either way, it's stupid, right? Of course, challenger players do make mistakes. So far, he's been pretty clean. He's not really been pushed to his limits. Being challenger about not just playing one game well, but playing all sorts of situations well, right? Like, this has not been very challenging from his perspective, probably, of like, knowing what he knows and having the skills he has. This has not been trying. I like that animation. Looks really fucking glitchy. That running animation looks like he's he's got a broken leg, but he's able to walk really fast with it. That's what it looks like. Alright. So he uses that to jump. I really like this little mechanics, like not using the bomb plant there. Save it for Drake. That's really cool. He didn't need to ward for it because someone was right there. And now Shyvana is on this Herald. She's doing what she can. She's a high level player as well, right? Like, it's not like she's stupid. It's just that she got completely negated by this early game Rengar pressure. I wonder if things would have gone differently if she didn't contest the Scuttler and instead just backed and instantly went for that red buff. I don't really know. I don't know enough about jungling to make stern judgments like that off the bat. But I feel like the Shyvana didn't play around it very well. Look at this Rock Sang-yoon. Like, this is fucking Korean challenger gameplay right here. Like, look at how they're playing this. To their detriment, though, I want to say in their defense, but like, I have to admit, they could know that this Rengar ult is still on cooldown. So this pink ward is completely useless right now. So just saying, you're off on the timer there, buddy, but I really like the idea of pink warding that. So I don't really know what was the first time that things really went haywire for Shyvana. Like, she got contested at Wraiths, which means I don't really know how she got contested at Wraiths. I feel like if she did the instant back and didn't contest Scuttler, Rengar wouldn't know where she was. So you're giving up a Scuttler in order to secure literally every single one of your camps. I think that would be way more worth it than contesting every single one of your camps, because Rengar knows you're now topside, right? That's just my 2 cents on the matter. If I played this against a Rengar that was like good, I would probably kite the Rift Scuttler to below or back. I don't know yet which one I'm gonna settle on. Well, that turret's a goner and they know it, so they just loop around. So it's kind of painful for them. And Shyvana is actually legitimately strong, level 6, right? As you can see. So she almost got the Rengar, but almost is not good enough. You can see that like, she's 0-2 and she's still fucking strong as hell, right? So if she can just farm up, then she has a default position of winning. All right, well, that scared shit out of him, I bet. All right, let's go back for a second. We're at 12:20. So Shyvana here is level 3, and she did not back after that, like, shenanigan, which I don't understand, to be quite frank. So she tried to do the Scuttler here. She went into this jungle, and she instantly walked here. And apparently the Rengar must have known, because this gank, I cannot believe that the intent of this was to actually gank. Right? I think what he's trying to do here is sneak into the topside jungle, or otherwise I'm just a fucking lunatic and he's just, like, really mediocre at jungling instead of really good, right? Which I don't think is the case. It's really interesting. I can't believe that these people are willing to risk their lives over those, like, 5 seconds or 10 seconds of time, right? Like, get the 3 camps and get fucking boots and a pink ward. Like, I don't understand. Like, is that bad? I really understand it, and I really don't. Like, I understand that you don't want to waste time and you want an effective buy, but I also don't, considering that you're up against Rengar and he just spotted you. So Rengar perfectly leveled that and perfectly knew what he was going to do. That is absolutely insane. Just being able to read that so well, like, it's not rocket science, but I wouldn't have done that 100%. No, like, this guy is insane. And what does he do after this scuttle? Where does he go? Guess what? Does he go here or does he go back? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going here, right? Like, he just levels every single fucking Shyvana play. At some point when you're playing against that, like, Korean challenger, what's it called? The Korean challenger competitive level players, right? People that play on the competitive scene. So people that actually know about macro play because they've been coached and whatnot for long amounts of time, right? They really know what's up. Like, if someone's leveling every single play, maybe consider, well, if the Rengar knows I'm going to Wraiths, he's gonna try and invade. Maybe I should go back instead and then meet the Rengar with full health. Like, wouldn't that be effective? I don't know if she would lose the Wraiths over that. I don't have sufficient experience with that. It's like, Rengar showed mid, and then Shyvana would be around here, so he has to walk here. Does Shyvana have enough time to still contest this? I don't know. Right? But I think at that point Rengar would lose health, and it would be, at least it would save the red buff. Like, considering how strong Rengar is and how weak Shyvana is early game, I think that would be decent. And at some point you have to ask yourself, right, if someone's leveling every single one of my plays, maybe I should do a 1-up, right? Like, that's the thing with levels, right? Like, when rock, paper, scissors is the easiest example of, like, sort of like where the levels proceed in a very easy to grasp way, and it's modular, right? It repeats back on itself after 3 times because there's, right, like when you predict someone's going scissors for whatever reason, so you're gonna go with rock, then leveling that would be picking paper as your opponent instead of scissors, right? But if you know your opponent levels you, you can do a level on that, and you can actually say, you know what, I'm gonna go with scissors then. And if your opponent is like, yeah, but you know I'm gonna go with paper to try and level you, so I'm just gonna go with the fucking scissors anyway, right? And then you're like, oh, well then I'll switch to rock. So it just keeps transposing and transposing and transposing, and it just loops and loops and loops, right? And obviously, so it's like, you either level someone exactly right or 3 times too many, right? It's like a really funny interaction. And in League, there's some, obviously, usually in real life and in League, the leveling stops after a few levels. In this case, it's like, there's the regular route, there's leveling that route, and there's leveling that level. Now, there's no, like, leveling that. That's just impractical. You're not gonna say, well, Shyvana knows I'm gonna try and invade a race, so she's gonna back, therefore I'm not gonna do it. That's not a thing in League. Maybe someday when we turn super duper intelligent or something, and we always make these kinds of decisions, eventually that would be a thing. But not now, right? That would be when you would let these deep AI, right, that play much better than people play the game, that's probably what you would see. But in human play, yeah, I don't think so. Alright, well, the rest of the game is kind of just boring pop-off stuff, so I'm gonna skip over that. I've kind of talked over most of the talking points that I wanted to go over. Early game is by far the most important in jungle. After that, it doesn't really matter if you were a support or a jungler. It's very similar to one another. If you can play the early game right as a jungler, it's not like there's new things in the late game that you don't know about. Like, yeah, there's some basics about Baron, but that's just universal to all the roles, really. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That's it for this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.